My life ended in 2017 because I can't hear him anymore. I'm 7 years old. 9 months. And 2 days since I last heard my son, his voice. He was about to climb up to sit on the bench that was there at the base when a black truck arrived with many people and a light blue car. And they grabbed my son, forced him down, and put him inside the truck and took him away. And with everything that's happened, sometimes I say it would have been better if they had killed him instead of going through this suffering, because many are tortured alive, they're dismembered. So, but I have faith that I'm going to find him. No matter what, I'm going to find him. In all these years, I could never imagine seeing a hand separated from skin from an arm, a single head. That you go in there digging up the graves, the black bags, and the smell that reaches you. You understand things that I never thought I'd experience, being out there in the hills, digging and looking for people. Before, if we went into Servicio Medico Forense when what happened to my son happened, since I worked in a hospital, well, I used to say, I can see a dead person. I worked in a hospital. It doesn't impress me. It's just that it's very different to see a person who dies from an illness than to see a body. When they open the bag and pull the head out like this, so you can see the head sticking out, swollen, the eyes like a toad's. So because you have the image of your relative here, when you see something, you say, oh, I'll identify them easily, right?
In our country, cases of disappearances and the consequences of organized crime have been a statistic that since the middle of the last decade has not stopped growing. So today we will learn the story of Ana Rosa Vázquez, a mother whose life changed forever after the disappearance of her son, Guillermo Campos Vázquez, who was a victim of organized crime in Mexico.
Hello, good morning. I am Mrs. Ana Rosa Vázquez Arcea. I am a searching mother. I am looking for my son, Guillermo Campos Vázquez, who was disappeared from me. They took him on July 31st, 2017, between 6:30 and 7 in the evening. What was he like? I didn't see my son every day, but at least every third day, my son would call me on the phone. He would call me and we would talk. My son was very, very hardworking. My son worked since he was a child. I separated from the father of my children, my 3 children, and I was pregnant with my youngest daughter at the time. And my son was 10 years old, who was the oldest of my 3 children. And from that date, I had another job at a hospital at night. But I didn't think it was enough to support my 3 children. But I knew how to make carafa ice cream. So I started saving money to open a little shop. And I opened a little shop. And it's something that sometimes hurts a lot, because when my son was little, maybe 10 or 11 years old, a lot, I had to leave him. I rented a little shop, so I had to leave him there because, well, we didn't have anyone to help us. I had a shop, and I would put a soda crate so my son could climb up and reach the refrigerator so he could serve the ice cream. And I would give him a notebook and tell him to pay attention to the accounts. And when I finished work, I would leave the hospital at 8:30 at night when I was on the afternoon shift. Then I would come here with him, and then we would go home. Later, I switched to the night shift so I could have more time with them. He was always very hardworking, my son, and that's how time went by. I had the business for 20 years. That's how time passed, because in December, business is very slow. And my son in December, but he had to keep it open. He couldn't close. People would say, the lady isn't going to sell anymore, so you have to open the business even if you don't sell anything. But my son in the late afternoons and evenings would go there near a neighborhood called Santa Tere in Guadalajara to wash cars. Well, to help me out. So my son was always a real fighter, of course. He has his own personality. And my son, I tell him he's the leading man in a cheap movie. Because he has a way with women, my son, and he's very charming. Women really go after my son. But when he has a partner, my son is very faithful. He has always been a hard worker, very hardworking. He was never ashamed to work at that, washing cars. He knew it was good money. And but unfortunately, my life ended in 2017 because I don't hear him anymore. It's been 7 years, 9 months, and 2 days since my son, I haven't heard his voice. He was always the first one to call me on my birthday, on Mother's Day. He would call me on the phone. Hey, yeah, hi, boss. That's what he called me. Hi, boss. And we would talk. I have a strong personality. I've always had a strong personality. And so did he. And sometimes he would start cursing when he talked. He would talk about his partner. And I would just hang up on him. And later he would call me. And I wouldn't answer to punish him. And the next day I would contact him. And then he would apologize to me. But the one who was very persistent, my son is very persistent. Very hardworking. Yes, that's true too. But he didn't allow anyone, well, like everyone else. I think that's where we allow ourselves to be stepped on. And since then, absolutely nothing has happened since that January 31st, 2017.
Everything started on a day like any other. Guillermo was heading to his job, not imagining that this would be the moment when the lives of everyone around him would change forever. What seemed like just another routine soon turned into a nightmare for his family, marking the beginning of a search that still hasn't ended.
That day my son disappeared, was just arriving at the place to start working. Then the workers were assigned their spots and he ended up in second place to go to work. He was about to get on and sit on the bench that was there at the base when a black truck with many people in a blue car arrived. Of course. And they grabbed my son, made him crouch down, put him in the truck, and took him away. Since then, I haven't heard from him. The other person who was there, the other person who also has a taxi, he was the one who told my son's partner, and she told me because my son didn't live with me, he lived with his partner. Right there in Cerro del Cuatro. That's how I found out about the disappearance. Because, like I said, my son's partner, the man who was there when they took my son, the other person who was on the other side, he called my son's partner because he knew her since my son lived in Cerro del Cuatro with this girl. Then the girl calls me on the phone because we were in touch. Since sometimes my son would take her to the house where I live. So she calls me and tells me that my son had been taken, and I didn't understand her. What does it mean to be taken? I told her he was probably sleeping so late. It's 6:30 in the evening, I said to her. She told me, no, ma'am, they took him. I asked if he went on a trip because I didn't understand those terms. Not really. No. It's not that I'm ignorant, but I'm just not used to hearing those words, you could say. Now I know what it means. A lot of words, right? And she told me that they had taken him. That's when I realized. And then I called one of my brothers, the youngest of my brothers, and he said to me, you know what? Calm down, relax, because obviously they could already imagine how I reacted, right? When they tell you that armed men have taken one of your children, well, it's always a bit, you become even crazier than you already are. And then I called my brother. My brother said, calm down. He called my other son. And my other son had just passed by where the base of the site was. He even greeted his brother. He said goodbye to him. I say it's a good thing he didn't stop to greet his brother, because what did I think? That maybe they could have called my other son too? And when I saw both of them there, not knowing who the other person was, my son just walked by and greeted him. So I told him, you know what? Go back, call the police. And that's it. My son did go back since I was about 5 or 10 minutes away from where I had been, from where I was. My other son, my son Guillermo, the one they made disappear. So then my son goes back. And yes, the patrol car arrived, and my son talked to them. There's a fixed camera there. It's the C5, so it has to be, the camera was active. Because there's a church across the street. It's a very busy intersection. A lot of people pass through there because on Ocho de Julio Avenue, which is very famous here in Guadalajara, well, to go to Cerro del Cuatro, it was at Ocho de Julio and Santa Rita. There's a church, there's a school, so it's very common. That's the main street to go up to Cerro del Cuatro.
With the information a bit clearer, Ana Rosa, accompanied by her other son, went to file the report and take care of the necessary paperwork. That's how the nightmare that still marks their lives today began. A constant struggle against uncertainty, bureaucracy, and a system that often seems more willing to hinder than to help. Once the search began, and faced with the indifference of the authorities, Anna started looking for clues on her own, leaving nothing to chance.
So my son had already left, and the police officer said, well, let's go so you can file your report. He went to one place, they sent him to another, and over there on the avenue, well, he filed the report. My second son, the next day, when it was already early morning, you know how it is when they're out and about, and it got late. So my son, well, since I live alone, he comes and he's going to take another family member to the prosecutor's office because that's what needs to be done. I told them they could start a line of investigation. I told them that they've already done it. Even now that I'm going to the prosecutor's office, the lady, a new public prosecutor, because in these 7 years, they've changed my public prosecutor about 10 times. One comes in and says, no, don't do that anymore, do something else, and they have to start all over again. Look at the case file. I mean, it's a mess. And I think they've already summoned him and everything, but no. And we already arrived at the prosecutor's office. So he tells the lady that the one who's going to take care of the whole matter is me. And yes, automatically, well, my two children, I have two, a daughter and a son. Both of them live away from here. They lived with me sporadically, when they came here. But, well, no, they have never gotten involved. I mean, that's fine, because I also have to take care of my other children or my siblings too. You wish someone would support you, not because you're playing the victim, but knowing that someone in your family supports you, that's something. Well, that's a huge support. And no, I've been on my own, on buses, putting up posters. When I went to the prosecutor's office and walked all the way down the avenue to downtown, I would go around putting them up. I would get on different routes. On buses. I never thought in my life that I would get on, put them up, ask for permission, and put up posters of my son everywhere. I did it. I also went to nearby towns to put up posters all by myself. And well, I'm still alone in the fight to find my boy. I go to the prosecutor's office. That day I went to the prosecutor's office. I mean, you go in blind, and there's no one to guide you. Now it's different. I don't know. Well, I joined a group because of one of my brothers who told me to join because he saw me very down, so that you feel better. And there they told me, you have to go to this place, you have to do this. I'm very grateful to them because that was a big help. Because there at the prosecutor's office, they just tell you, here's a psychologist, but they tell you to go to this place. They don't tell you anything else. That's all they say. And that's their usual thing. I mean, can you call it advice or a suggestion? We call them.
Among her efforts, she even checked her son's car, which could provide an important line of investigation.
They didn't take the car, so I had to keep the car, but unfortunately, well, the car too. I went to the doctor, and when we came out, well, the car was already gone, right? I don't have the car anymore either. I had the car for 2 years, the car. My son, the car belonged to him. The plates didn't. My son was renting the plates. When this happened to my son, when they took him, I wanted to give the license plates to the man from the place, the one who rented it to my son by the year. So I could deregister it and make it a private car. So I wanted to communicate. And I was talking to the secretary because I think the man is a lawyer. I'm not really sure. And they never picked up the plates. I would tell them, well, come get the plates so I can deregister it and things like that. and they never went, and they still haven't come for the plates to this day. I don't know how he would deregister it. Maybe the man knows someone in the traffic department. I don't know how he would fix it because it hasn't even been reported, not even as a stolen license plate. Because I tried to find out, Listen, there aren't any. Have they reported any stolen license plates? Because I have the plates, and no, there aren't any. But I don't know how I would do it because once I don't know if it was my imagination. I mean, it could be. I was on the bus and I saw a taxi go by, and I said, "Damn, those look like my son's license plates." So I don't know because I have the license plates, and the man never came to get them. Who leaves license plates behind? Don't they cost money?
Mrs. Anna reflects on the role that the prosecutor's office plays in the search for her son. And how do the constant changes of the officials in charge of the case, instead of helping, often hinder the process? Each new person in charge means having to start explaining everything from scratch again, and once more facing institutional indifference.
I've been waiting for 7 years and 9 months, and I've never received a single call. Hey, ma'am, come over because this one's already yours. Now, the girl I have is a young lady, the graduate, and it seems like she wants to work. Because even though, no matter how many years go by, I'm going to keep trying to find out what happened. Where is he? Maybe I'm not looking for someone to blame anymore. I just want to know where my son is. It's hard, very hard, because it's a pain that will never go away. Sometimes people judge you very easily, right? But I would arrive at the prosecutor's office at 6 in the morning every third day when the investigator in charge of my boy's case arrived, waiting for him to come back from his shift. Why has this happened? What have they told you? Because I didn't live there. I knew everything because my son used to tell me. My son and I had a lot of contact. But I wasn't always saying, well, this is happening on the street or this happens. No, because I didn't live, nor do I live there in the Cerro del Cuatro. But, well, sometimes it's like when you go somewhere and they put a blindfold on you, you just walk, but with a blindfold on your eyes. You can trip, you can fall, you can get hurt, or someone can hurt you, and you don't know who's doing it.
Anna shares with us how the group of searching mothers she belongs to has been an invaluable support in her life. In it, she found a new family that understands her pain, her desperation, and her daily struggle. However, she also tells us about the difficulties she faces in each search, as well as the terrible scenes she has come across. Images that she says she wouldn't wish anyone to see. Each discovery, each search is a mix of hope, but at the same time of horror.
And that's how we are with a blindfold over our eyes, walking through this, searching for my son. And well, I keep doing it. Now, well, I use a cane because I have a back problem. I need surgery, but I rely on my cane. I've gone to mass graves, and thank God, I say, when I joined this group, they helped me by telling me where to go and things like that. But right now, currently, let's remember a little, okay? Nowadays, we have done, well, you can't really call it a group or a clan. No. We have formed a friendship because look there, with them, with the ladies. From this group, you can cry, scream, and they don't judge you. You can talk, even say, no, my son was like this, my son used drugs, and they don't judge you, right? Because everyone has a story about their family member, whether it's a son, a brother, a nephew, or a husband. And that's when we understand, because we're going through the pain. An absence isn't just an absence, it's a disappearance that was done to your family, which becomes an absence for you. Because you're no longer close to him, you don't see him anymore, you don't hear him, you can't touch him. So we've done with some friends I have whom I love very much, who seem more like my family than they do. We always support each other. We encourage each other. We give each other love. We scold each other. Sometimes they scold me because I talk too much, but I know they do it with love. And that group is about 4 or 5 of us who are very close. We're close with the others too. But with them, we've really bonded, and that has helped me a lot. I live alone, and it has helped me a lot. But this race, because it's a race where you can't reach the finish line. I'm running now. I'm better off walking because I can't run anymore, but I don't see the finish line. I don't see it. Like all the runners, they run, but they reach a finish line. I don't have a finish line to reach. To say I made it, I succeeded. No, no. So how much longer? I don't know. I'm going to keep going, but I do ask God that, well, I don't know, to find him no matter what, but to find him. Sometimes people say, oh, but why do you still want to find him, right? It's not that each of us feels our own peace of mind knowing that, well, at least I have him there, even if he's no longer alive, right? But he's there. Maybe you can talk to a piece of stone. And a lot of people say, oh, what do you even talk to it about? Can you talk even if you don't see him? And yes, I come to your house, which is my house, and I have the photos of my boy. And at first it was very hard to cry and look at the photo, but I've never taken them down. Like a lot of people tell me, oh, take those photos down. It's not that I don't, I come in and I'm here, son, but not because you arrive and say, oh, I'm here, my son. How have you been? I mean, it's not that I'm crazy. You're just going crazy from the absence, but you're still aware. I come in and there's nothing wrong with talking to someone like that to the photo. But I come in and I've already arrived chubby. I'm here, little ears, because my son had very small ears and I called him little ears. I'm here, little ears, and that's it. Well, I'm going to bed now, little ears. That's all I do, but I don't know. When you break a cup or something, you glue it back together. Sometimes you can use it again, but it's not the same because the crack is still there. No matter how much you try to fix it, it's not whole anymore. Because any little bit of clay, any tiny speck of clay that fell off, it's missing there. It's just missing. And that's how my heart is too. Something's missing. My son, look, when I think about it, people have asked me, do you think your son is still alive? Yes, I thought about it, and I've come to think that maybe the day they took my son, they killed him. I think it, and with everything that has happened, sometimes I say it's better that they killed him and not go through the suffering because many are tortured alive, they're dismembered. So, but I have faith that I'm going to find him. No matter what, I'm going to find him. But if I tell you and I'm being honest, and if I've said and thought about it and I've said it to myself, I've told myself maybe the day that, and I've told many of you not in the right way. I think that my son, the day they took him, they must have killed him that same day. I say, well, if they killed him that day, it's not that it's a relief for me. I don't want you to misunderstand me, but I mean, if they killed him that same day, maybe it's better because they beat them a lot, they torture them. So to spare my boy that suffering, I think that if they killed him that same day, well, that's terrible. But for me, it would be like a comfort to know that my boy didn't suffer everything that's happening. Many boys they've found have been killed, beaten, dismembered. It's just a terrible thing. I say, well, if they've already killed them, why don't they just leave the body there? Why? What's the point of dismembering them so that the authorities have more work to do? Well, yes, they're going to work more. It'll take longer to hand over a person or pieces of a person. One time they called me from the medical examiner's office and told me my other son wasn't there. And they told me there was a body that they said was my son's. So I went to the medical examiner's office. I didn't call anyone, not my brother or my other son, since he was working. And I arrived at the medical examiner's office. Miss, I said, I have my boy's papers with me. I'm here because I got a phone call saying that Guillermo Campos Vasquez, that his body is here. And there was another lady, a couple next to me. They were also relatives of a deceased person. I don't know if she had disappeared or not. I just know she's deceased. And I turned around and they told me, no, ma'am, we've already handed over the body. Or, I mean, how? I mean, why are you talking to me? I mean, what are you thinking? How is it possible that they play with people's feelings? I was already feeling terrible just thinking that my son might have been found and obviously dead. But to arrive and be told, no, we already handed him over with their bodies. It's something that brings you down to a horrible place, but sometimes you just don't understand. Now, well, they're very modernized there at the Servicio Medico Forense because before it was very, very, apparently now it's more modernized, or do they have more things to give you information and things like that? But, well, isn't there a lot of overcrowding with all of this? And I was telling him, and when this thing with my son started, that I had to go to the prosecutor's office to ask, and everything with my search engine. So I asked him, why do they make you a call log? And for me, the only thing is the calls, the call log. They just followed my son's case. That's all. They told me, look, that day he called this person, this one, these phone numbers. So my son had a daughter when he was a minor with another minor. Obviously, they didn't get married or anything. And obviously, well, the girl was seeing my son. But my son's daughter, who is my granddaughter, never really spent much time with us because her family wouldn't allow it. She would secretly communicate with my son over the phone. But that time with the calls, there were some calls that day when my son disappeared. Even before 6:30, around 6 in the evening, was his last call. So he says, ma'am, do you know this number? And yes, because my granddaughter's mother, the girl, sometimes used to contact me. The lady, right? I told her, oh, yes. I even said to myself, so I called her from there, from the prosecutor's office itself. I called her, hello, hello, hey, daughter. It's just that there are some calls for Memo, but I had already told him, to my son, how, sir, did Memo just disappear like that on me? Oh, I said, there's a call. Oh, yes, ma'am. That day we talked on the phone like 3 times because even though my son already had his partner, sometimes they would talk, they would chat on the phone. He just didn't see her. That was it. But there wasn't anything else to say. The last call was at that time or after that hour because after that I called my daughter's phone and yes, a woman answered. I said, can you put me through to Guillermo? She said, no, this is my son's number. I didn't tell her why. I just said it's his number. No, this phone is my. And after that, they didn't answer me anymore. They didn't follow up on my son's phone anymore. And the C5 camera, they told me when I said there's the camera from where they took him, they said after 3 or 4 days it's erased. And that's a lie. But when you don't know all that, they say that not asking doesn't excuse you from not knowing. But for example, things like that. How was I supposed to know how long a camera lasts? That monitors the whole city? And they told me no, 3, 4 days and they're erased. And that's a lie. They're not erased after 3 or 4 days. So they didn't tell me anything about the camera either. And they've never told me anything about the camera. Look, that man I told you about with the license plates. And the girl my son lived with had 2 children, and my son raised her. A little girl and a boy. The guy lived there. From Cerro del Cuatro, I also told the girl, hey, your ex-partner, maybe he's angry. I mean, no, sir. Actually, he even greets him. And we see it that way, right, ma'am? Yes, because there are 2 lines of investigation, you could say, but just 2. The girl, I don't have contact with the partner anymore because now, after 6 months, the girl already blocked me. Well, I understand because she's young. She's a very young girl. Well, she already said, so I distance myself from her, right? From the lady. And that's fine. I don't get upset about it. Because I used to say, well, what else have you seen, right? Because, well, I don't live with him. You live with him. You're over there. And no, absolutely not. He treats his car like a taxi and everything. My boy. Even up to now, well, no. The last time I went to the public prosecutor's office, which was about 3 months ago, 2 months, almost three, with this new young lady that the attorney gave me, she told me that there was. Did I already know about the address? From Ciudad Guzman, from my son. Wait, hold on. My son never lived in Ciudad Guzman. My son has never lived in Ciudad Guzman. Could it be anonymous? That's what they call it, that the name is similar. So they said they were going to investigate. And when I went about 3 months ago about this, I asked, so what happened with about the address in Ciudad Guzman? They said they sent the authorities from Ciudad Guzman over there to go, but they haven't responded. And I haven't gone to the public prosecutor's office anymore. And now with this, what has happened lately? Well, I think they're busier, right? In the investigation. And I haven't gone to ask, what happened? Why did they say my son lived in Ciudad Guzman if my son never lived there? In fact, he never even went there. I took him when he was a little boy. I took my children. A brother lived in Ciudad Guzman, one of my brothers. And I took my parents to visit my brother. Well, my kids were little, so I took them with me, but my son never lived in Ciudad Guzman, never. So, what were they going to see? It's one of the lines of investigation they have lately. This young lady I told you about, the one who took on my son's case, because they change them all the time, they change them on me. Well, every time they notify us, we end up not knowing what's going on. That's another thing, and they have to review the file to see what's going on, what the others have done, and then start all over again. I mean, and they say, ma'am, what have you found out? What have they told you out there? Honey, I don't live there. How am I supposed to know? What's going on? The other day I said, well, years ago, the investigator, the boss wasn't an investigator. He hadn't arrived yet. And he takes me to the office and shows me on the computer 4 photos of 4 men, the name, who was going through Cerro del Cuatro and their nicknames. And he shows them to me and asks, have you seen them yet? Do you know who they are? Well, I don't know. How could I, ma'am? If they're from Cerro del Cuatro, I don't know them. I don't live in Cerro del Cuatro. I live in Zapopan. They know who those guys are, and I did tell them, well, if you know who they are, then why don't you do something about it? And his explanation, or what he told me, so that I don't know, they calmed me down. It's just that as long as we don't find weapons or drugs on them, we can't do anything. But they know their location, they know the nicknames, they know the names. So I don't know how to investigate or what to do. I can't give them more information because I don't live there. If I had lived there, well, you know how things are in your neighborhood, you know what's going on and everything, but I don't live there. I've never lived in Cerro del Cuatro. My boy used to live there, so what I do is look for him wherever it is. If there are graves, then let's go. All these years, I could never imagine seeing a hand separated from a leg, from an arm, a single head, that you go and they're digging up the graves, the black bags and the smell that reaches you. You understand things that I never thought I would experience in my life. Walking in the hills, digging and looking for people. Because you don't know where they left him. Because they could have taken him from Cerro del Cuatro, but maybe you say, but will they get upset? The guys who take him, they take them somewhere else. I don't know if it's to create chaos, to make people suffer more, to make people search more. I don't know why they do it, but seeing them arrive and take someone out like that, seeing a body being taken out is terrible. Before, we used to go into Servicio Medico Forense when what happened to my son happened. Since I worked in a hospital, well, no, look, I used to say I can see a dead person. Come on, I work in a hospital. It doesn't impress me. But it's very different to see someone who dies from an illness than to see a body where they open the bag and pull out the head so you can see it swollen, the eyes like a frog's. So, because you have the image of your loved one in your mind, when you see something, you think, oh, I'll identify them easily, right? but you really do recognize them because, well, you had them, you lived with them. But it's extremely hard to open a bag, and then what? And the smell that comes when they open the bags. Because when I used to go to the graves, there are places you couldn't go into, caves where they dig in the hills, caves to put things in, but they use chemicals. So one time when we went over there in Zapopan, one of the ravines in Zapopan that we went to, they didn't let us go any further because there were chemicals. They even had to call civil protection because they had to go in well protected since they use chemical substances there. Well, so that people don't notice the smell, so people don't catch the scent of the bodies. They're there because even though they're in bags, sometimes they break, they get punctured, and the fluids from the body start to leak out. But if that, from watching, they would open the bags for us and tell me, look, ma'am, it's a body, so that we're aware of what they're taking out. Because sometimes, what are they taking out? Because they say they take out a bag, but they only take out half a bag and say they only took out a little bit. Or they take out 10 bags and say, no, we only took out 5. So that's why now they don't let us get close or do the extraction ourselves, also for protection. They also see these signs and things, but we have to keep an eye on it so they can tell us what they're taking out. We have to keep an eye out to see what they're working on, even though they go in to work on it, because before we used to go in ourselves. We used to pull the bags out of the holes, and you can't imagine the moment when you pull the bag. Sometimes it's about to fall, you grab it like this, and touching those things, pieces of flesh, it's horrible. It's horrible. I mean, in my life, do you think I ever thought, even when I was in contact with deceased people, I mean, from the hospital, but it's not the same as when you're seeing them there, when they do the packing and everything. All the holes the body has for fluids, as opposed to touching something that's torn apart and knowing it could be your relative. That's something that really brings you down. So this struggle that exists, because it is a struggle with the government, a struggle with the environment, a struggle with crime, a struggle with the people around you because they judge you, a struggle with oneself because you want to fight and keep going. And you say, I don't want to anymore. I'm tired, because you do get tired. You get tired. But besides that, maybe physically you get tired for a while, but sometimes it's the emotional part. What's inside here? Sometimes I say, I don't want to suffer anymore. I swear I say, oh my God. But you can't help it. You can't help it because here I bring now the mind of my son as it was. Even though he never wore short sleeves, he always wore his long sleeve shirts. That day when he disappeared, because I'm telling you, that day he sent me a photo. Hey, Mom, at noon, I'm already here. I'll go over there later. I'm taking a shower. I'll go over there in a bit. And he was wearing a green shirt. Green, almost like this one, with white stripes, gray denim pants, and some light green sneakers. Light green. And the part where the laces go was military green. That's why it was clothing my son wore. And always, my son would always comb his hair. He was very particular. My boy, since he had wavy hair, I have my hair short, but I also have wavy hair. And his father, may he rest in peace, had it too. My son would bend down and grab his gel. I said, no, son, you're going to use kilos of it, because he would bend down and do this with his hair. From the front to the back, the front one. But now he's already styled his hair. He said, Anna, my boy is very handsome.
Anna, like many searching mothers, asks for empathy and justice for her cause. She deeply regrets the prejudice that falls on the victims of organized crime, because many times it's assumed they were involved in bad things. In her son's case, as in so many others, this isn't true. Her pain is made worse by having to defend not only her search, but also the memory and dignity of her loved one.
Please cover him, take care of him, and let him contact me immediately if the authorities can't help me. If you see him out there wandering the streets, if you see him as a homeless person, because if they took him to do something bad, when they don't need them anymore, they kill them or just throw them out on the street. I really hope people are empathetic with us. Not everyone who takes them are bad people, not everyone. Because people generalize that everyone who leaves is a criminal. That's not true. You can't judge someone as a parent. I'm going to tell you, I can't say my son is a saint. You don't see things when you're young. And what about all the things you did at home with your parents? You're an angel of God, but when you go out on the street, you take off your angel wings and walk alone. You don't fly anymore. But they're not bad because people sanitize them so much. And I say, and even if the kids were hanging out on the wrong path, I believe that no one has the right to take someone else's life, even if they have something to pay for. If he became a criminal, then let the authorities punish him, but why tear them apart? Why? As if they were animals? We are all human beings. So I think people should be more empathetic. People judge you with incredible ease. Do you know what it means to be disappeared? The thing about they were involved in something. That's the favorite word. When this doesn't happen to you, maybe it's very easy to judge people. And you judge very easily. If he drank a lot, oh, well, he was a real drunk. That's why what happened to him happened. Wait, he drank because he liked to drink, but that's not a reason to demonize someone. But unfortunately, that's how we are in society. Because my son was a man, that's what I say. Because since he was a man, I don't know if he was involved in something. Because the young guys, all of them who leave, disappear. Those who were messing around because they were committing crimes, because they were into bad habits, that's the very first thing they tell you. And if it's a woman, no. Well, it's because she liked the wildlife. She liked to talk about forgiveness. They call her a slut, that she was too free. That's why things happened to them. What a big mistake it is for us people to judge other people. You can't know a person's life or what they're going through, why they behave that way. What comes behind them from their family? They don't see that. That's why when I see a homeless person on the street, well, I think all moms, all families of a missing person, we do that. You check it from top to bottom because you say, I hope it's not my relative because they could be anywhere on the street and he doesn't know anything about the world anymore, right? For many reasons, not just because of drugs, but also from not eating, from the environment he's living in on the street, wandering around without water or food whenever he wants. That's what most people judge. He's out there on the street, right? Do they have 3 meals like we do? Homeless people don't have 3 meals like we do. Do they have water whenever they want? They don't have water whenever they want. A bed to sleep in? They don't have one? Why do they want them? You can't know because they're living as homeless people. It's just that he was a drug addict, not caring about anything before becoming a drug addict. We have to help people get out of there, but we shouldn't be so empathetic that we just say, oh, well, let them stay there. But whenever I see someone like that, I'm not Mother Teresa of Calcutta, right? But, well, you try. And all my friends that I talk to, the ones I have, they're also very humane. Then we approach and ask, what's wrong? What's going on with you? Life teaches you. Life makes you more humane. And I think that, and I'm not saying that we need life to hit us hard. To be a human being, you have to be human without needing life to hit you hard. Why does life need to hit you hard for you to be human with other people? That's my point of view. And I think that if we all became like that, more human, the world would be different. If people understood. Because once a neighbor asked me, hello, Mrs. Anna, how are you? Fine. What happened with your son? Oh, do you think he's alive? I mean, the whole way they tell you is very different. Like, ma'am, well, you have to pray to God. Is that it? Is that supposed to comfort you? Oh, do you think he's alive? And unfortunately, I never said anything to him. 2 months later, they took one of her nephews, who to this day, they still haven't found him.
Anna tells us that the emotional burden of being in this situation and actively participating in the searches is extremely heavy. Each outing, each search day represents a deep physical and emotional exhaustion, a constant struggle between hope and pain. Even so, she continues, driven by the love for her son and the need to find answers.
And she tells her sister, because my sisters have told me life goes on, you know? Yes, you can't stop it. But for me, I wake up and it gets dark. I wake up and it gets dark. And sometimes I just don't want to. I didn't want to come here. I'm telling you honestly. I said, why should I go? But then I said, I think yes. I didn't know. I need to go. There are places. It's just that sometimes you have depression. That even to this day, I have it. And I think we all have it. And we try to overcome it. It's really hard, but we're all depressed.
That we try.
To move forward. We try to move forward. We chat and talk. We laugh among ourselves because that's how we are. We laugh when we come to eat. Sometimes we even cry. You cry, sweetie. We don't judge each other. And there in a record, it was here by San Juan de Dios. We came to eat. We went to take care of something. And the three of us came here to eat and talk. Sometimes, well, tears come to your eyes because you talk about things and we cry. And then after a while, we're laughing and laughing. I think it's like a defense mechanism because if we weren't like this, we'd fall apart. But sometimes when I'm at your house, which is my house, I say I live alone. And sometimes I say I get up. I have breakfast. What else do I do? I pray, still praying, not now that it's happening. And now, yes, I'm praying, but that's a little secret. And I start watching television. I'm really into making anagrams. I really like that. So I buy my books. At noon, I arrive at lunchtime. I go out for a walk because of the path. I just walk around the window. That's all. So I don't stay so inactive because I can't be still for too long because of my back. At noon, I eat for a while and watch television. My little books, go up to the house, take a nap. That's it. The daily routine every day. That's why they're the ones who encourage me. Don't go. Come on. We're going to go somewhere. So I go to the group. We go to Servicio Medico Forense. We go to places that support us. There's a group of nuns who help us a lot, who bring us a thanatologist. We go to the Desarrollo Integral de la Familia, where a thanatologist, teacher Lily, a lovely person who helps us. Right now, we're going through the 12 steps, which I thought were just for alcoholics. And well, yes, the 12 steps are for alcoholics, the ones they teach in the places where alcoholic men go. But they're making the families of the disappeared do them too. So does that help? Sometimes I say I want to leave my house. I don't want to. I don't want to. I'd rather just stay here, but that's depression. Why? Because you feel like you fight and fight so much and nothing ever happens. We've already been through, it's 10 rounds that you fight in boxing, right? I think it's 10 rounds. Well, I think we've already been through 1,000 rounds and we don't see the fight we've won. A lot of people have been found, you know? Don't think that they haven't found many alive, but unfortunately, many more have been found dead, but they have been found. And for the people who have already been found, to be able to take them out of Servicio Medico Forense, which is another problem. With all due respect, for them to give you a body, if you've already recognized it, damn it, they should just let them have it, man. It's a hassle to get an already identified body out. It's another ordeal. So you want everything to move faster, but sometimes maybe you're being unreasonable because you want to know, why don't they do this? But I know that this goes slowly, but sometimes it's too slow, way too slow. So well, you want empathy, you want someone to help you, right? And it's hard, but that's how the years go by. May God give me life because I'm going to keep looking for my boy. If I find a grave, I'll go there as much as I can. I can't stop searching for my son. We have a group where we are in FUNDEC. It's the collective. That's where you can contact us at FUNDEC. And the prosecutor's office has our phone numbers, right? because, well, we're not allowed to give private studies. It happened to me. They tried to extort me when I had just started putting up pictures of my boy. In the downtown area over there near the Corona Market, there was a newspaper stand. And I asked, may I have your permission? Yes, ma'am. Outside a store of Pero. I don't know what that store is called, the one that only sells shoes there downtown, where there are no cars or anything. And I put my personal phone number, and obviously they called me that my son had stolen them. She said to me, but how did he steal them? Yes, he did show up with a weapon, but he stole some sneakers from them. So I said, sneakers? Well, I would steal 4 or 5, not just one pair, right? And that he showed up there, that he got out of a truck with a long gun. So my husband, hasn't he been gone for many years? And I said, oh, it's not that. Look, my husband kicked him out, but we're going to go pay you. I'll tell him. That's what I said. Said and done. The next day, I left early when the stores were still closed to pretend like nothing happened because, well, you have to have a little bit of that. And the photo was no longer at the stand. There were two, and one had already been taken down there at the newspaper stand. And then when they opened the store, it was a man. The one who spoke to me didn't get there. He was really aggressive and blah, blah. Yes, but like when? 1,500? We're not going to go pay you. And if not, we're going to please don't go from there because we have cameras here. And well, it's on camera. When he came to steal, I said to him, well, then when they opened, well, they already got me. Near the store, there was some women. I told the young lady, no, I'm sorry to bother you. There aren't many robberies around here, right? I was pretending not to know anything. Yes, ma'am, but have you already been robbed? Not us. No? Weren't you robbed yesterday? No, ma'am, I told you already. Look, maybe it's because I have a missing son. I put the O. Is the photo that's there of your son, ma'am? I said yes. I even told my coworker when we left yesterday, oh, look, that photo wasn't there before. It was there in the morning when the girl told the other company. And they told me that my son had stolen here. No, sir, only women have worked here. We've never had men working here. So I said, are you trying to? They told me, no, ma'am, it's not from the prosecutor's office. But in desperation, when someone calls you, well, you give out your phone number. And you shouldn't do that. It's a mistake because they get you involved. I mean, they can also harm you, mostly with extortion, where they ask you for money to tell you where the person is and things like that. But in my fight, a lot of people laugh at you, make fun of you, and criticize you. Sometimes I would walk through the streets with my son's picture and ask, ma'am, have you seen this boy? Look, you've already seen him on the flyer, right? My son is missing, isn't he? Oh, ma'am, what are you looking for? Why is your boy being so rebellious? Oh, no, ma'am. I mean, you say, what's wrong if you don't end up leaving crying and everything? You say, it's harsh. It's harsh because you get a lot of them. They label you as a bad mother. They label you as someone who didn't do everything possible for your boy, that maybe you didn't take care of him. As it is, as a mother, you always have it. I speak for myself. There are many people who might feel the same way, who say, oh, maybe I didn't know how to guide him. Like in my case, I say, I made him help me. He was so young. Oh, God. I mean, it gives you a feeling of guilt that you have to recognize and work on to be able to get rid of it a little, because it really is a feeling of guilt. When a child isn't doing well, is it because I didn't guide them? Always. One says, as a parent, I didn't guide them well. Maybe I didn't correct them properly. I told them it wasn't right just so I wouldn't hurt them. I've taken all the blame myself, but no. I believe that you give them the best you can, because no one is born knowing how to be a parent. No one teaches you, but everyone chooses their own destiny. Everyone chooses their own life. Do you want to live partying like that? Even if I tell you, son, don't go to the club, you're still going to go to the club, right? You're going to the club no matter what. Son, don't go out with that girl. You don't care? You still go out with that girl? I mean, we try to give you advice, but you are the ones who are going to live your life just like we did, right? And you also got advice from your parents, and you either take them or you don't. It's up to each person, right? Because we want to protect you. But yes, for me, it's been a struggle, very difficult, very exhausting. Not in the sense that I'm tired of looking for him. No, I'm not tired of looking for him. You see, like I've told you, I want to look for him, but in a happy way. I don't tell myself because I don't tell myself. I start crying. I grab myself and say, okay, you've already cried. Now calm down, relax, go take a shower and calm down, relax. I feel anxious. No, I can't breathe because I don't want to break down physically because then I won't be able to keep going in this fight. So I try to keep going with all my illnesses, whether you like it or not, but I try. And if you're already tired, it doesn't matter. Just keep walking. But sometimes I have to go and get an injection or take something for the pain in my hip, like I told you, my hip problem. But I'm not going to stop looking for my son. I need him. I mean, look, with my son, the one they made disappear, there was trust more than you can imagine. About everything, sex, condoms, everything. We talked about everything. I couldn't even talk about it with my second son. Yes, I talk with him, but with my first son, who was my son Guillermo, with him there was a trust. Very open. We talked about everything about sex, about everything without me feeling embarrassed. Like, what if I tell him this? Because we talked, but he wasn't vulgar. I mean, he knew it was me. His mother, there was a lot of trust between us, him and my son. And I was, well, because he was my first son. And there's a 6 year age gap with the second one and 10 years with the third. But we've always been very close. Since he was little, I mean, he helped me a lot because I was already alone with my three children. So he was my support. And now that this happened, the woman who lived with him gave me some documents that belonged to my son. And I never thought that. And so I started going through them to be able to take them where the authorities were asking me to. And I found a letter that my son wrote on any piece of paper, on a little scrap of paper, in which my son tells me, because I don't think he ever told me, oh, beloved, you are so strong. But was there that communication, even if he didn't tell me that I was very strong? And in that letter, he wrote to me, Mommy, my warrior. That's what he called me, you see? I mean, now that we're going through this, we tell each other that we're real warriors. So my son's words now relate to his disappearance because he called me a warrior. And he wrote that letter before all of this happened to my boy. Mommy, you are a warrior. You were always such a fighter in this life, always working hard to help them get ahead. And you always told me, son, no one gives you anything in this life. And I would tell my son the same thing. No one gives you anything. You have to earn everything honestly. If you want something, it's because you're going to get it. And she wrote all of that in the letter. That's why, like you used to tell me, Mom, if I want to have something, I have to fight for it and I have to work for it. Thank you, Mom. I love you. That's something my son never told me in person, like this, face to face. And in that letter, I still have it. It's like a treasured keepsake. I never thought my son would think that about me, because I was always very strong in front of my children. Now I'm really emotional, but back when I had my three kids and ran the ice cream business, I was also working at night at the same time. I worked nights at the clinic for 27 years and ran the business for 20 years. So I would leave the clinic and go buy the fruit, make the ice cream, because that kind is made by hand, the Garafa style. And then I would open the little shop at noon. So I would go to the shop without sleeping because I had no other choice. And even at night, well, then I would go back home. Because I would change in the morning and in the afternoon, since I had a lady who would take care of the other two while I stayed at the ice cream shop. It was a big struggle, like many people and like many women we fought. But, well, like I said, that I am going to keep fighting. Because, well, we all deserve to find them no matter what, but to find our loved ones. I ask people to understand us. And if they don't want to understand us, then at least not to judge us. That's the point. Not to judge us for anything, because it's very easy to judge someone. Well, that's how my struggle has been. We're looking for my boy, and I'm going to keep looking for him as long as I keep walking and I can walk. I'm going to keep fighting. That's what I think. That's why I try to take care of myself, because I want to keep fighting for my boy and look for him wherever he is. We're going over there. We're going here to Matitan. Are we going? Yes, we do move. We don't stay still anymore. But tell me, it's just that when I don't leave one place, I don't want to leave my house. And I tell them, oh, I'm not going. No, and I don't say no. And what? What do you mean you're not going? Get up and let's go. And then I get up, but I swear I tell her, oh no, push me, push me. But this is what encourages me and strengthens me. It gives me the strength to keep going. And here in this heart, my friends and I already made it like a challenge. I don't know.
Anna knows that the road is difficult, full of obstacles and pain, but she only asks for empathy. And if her son could hear her, she would tell him just one thing, that she is looking for him.
One of my friends gave it to us as a gift. And here I carry my son in the photo inside. Whenever I go out, wherever I go, I carry my boy hanging here. That's right. And well, I have to keep fighting for my son because I'm not going to leave him. He knows that I'm a strong woman and I'm aware of it. That's right, 100%, 1,000%. My son is going to say, my mom is looking for me. Because always, of course, when he was little, well, he was mischievous. He fought dogs and the police caught him, but he turned into a tough guy. He had a street dog and made it fight and everything. So the police caught him. And I always helped my son, my boy, who was a troublemaker. So he knows that I'm looking for him. He's calm. He'll say, my mom will find me because my mom is a warrior and my mom won't stop fighting for me. My son knows that perfectly well. I know he knows it.
Remember that these videos are uploaded on Pepe Misterio on Monday and Wednesday. And if you want to watch the other types of videos, the ones that I've always made, you can find them on Muchos Mas Misterios and on Pepe Misterio on Friday and Sunday. And if you are someone who wants your case to be known, who was part of some injustice and would like to appear in these interviews, you can send me an email at pepemisterio.com.mx, write to me on Facebook where I'm listed as Pepe Misterio, or on Instagram you can also find me as Pepe Misterio Mexico or Pepe Misterio Documentales.